Right.
It smells like cocaine.
Yep. There you go. There we have it.
Oh, hang on. We got a problem.
Live Super Training Gym and
We got issues.
Yeah, we got issues. We got Benny Hunter issues.
PowerCast, sponsored by Power Magazine.
Making it rain.
HowMuchYouBench.net.
We're not.
That's the combo right there.
Makers of NO Explode.
That-
For BSN.
No, I haven't
No.
actually mixed them, but that would be
Alongside Silent
amazing.
Mike and Jim McD, here's your host.
Somebody did throw some Diet Pepsi into my caveman coffee yesterday. They thought I was drinking soda.
And then like, hey, you want some more?
Yeah, it didn't work.
Did that to his dad.
It did.
He goes. He had a cold brew, and he goes, "Here, have some." And then you're expecting like a Coke.
Right.
He's like, it's a Coke.
Right, you thought it was a
So
cola?
he's expecting a Coke, and the look on the face after you do it is priceless.
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah.
matter how good the coffee is. If you're expecting Coke, you are disappointed.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
different.
When that coffee hits your tongue.
That bitterness. Yeah, you guys have those new cans coming out, right?
Yeah. We got little minis and.
The nitro coffee.
That's awesome. When's that gonna hit the stores and stuff like that?
We're gonna be canned in
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
And so it's got a, whoa, I'm hot.
Drop it like it's hot.
Am I
Everybody's
do-
a little bit
when
high.
do I
say
sound-
you're hot.
Does it sound hot to you guys? Hello.
I'm not
No,
sure what
that doesn't
hot
sound
means.
I'm
hot.
blowing my face off. Maybe it's just my
It's
headphones.
a little loud.
Yeah,
I'm a
whatever.
little loud.
Whatever. Roll with it.
So what?
I'm going to work on this.
Yeah, we'll
You
roll
guys
with
just
it.
talk.
I
So with
feel
the,
like
I
this
think
is
it's hot.
professional as shit. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
you were on the Dr.
So professional, we can't get anything done around here.
you were on the Dr. Drew show. How professional was that?
That's pretty professional.
Yeah,
They
I'm
even
sure.
have a guy behind glass. That's what you need is a cutout right over here,
Yeah.
and then a guy just looking at. I'm not sure
Pretend
what he
like
does
he
Probably
behind
does
the
nothing.
glass.
He does nothing, huh?
You can't
Watches
see him.
cartoons
Yeah.
or whatever. Yeah, you can see him, and he's
Oh.
just sitting and he's just kind of looking at you.
thinking hands.
Are his
signal
hands in
him,
his
hey,
pants,
keep
or
coming.
was-
It's just you only see nipples up. It's
You
hard
can't
to know
see his
what
hands?
happens. Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder what he's
Anything-
doing.
anything
Hey
could be
now,
happening.
I want to be that guy. Just sitting there beating off all day to whoever's on the show. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
It was cool. It was dope.
Back to the cans. There's nitrogen involved, right? Nitrogen or something?
Nitrogen infused coffee.
And that makes it creamy?
What it does, it gives it a little fizz, like it
Almost
enhances-
carbonation, kind of.
Almost carbonation, not too bad. It gives a little creamy foam and everything,
Right.
and it tastes amazing. It also enhances the uptake of the caffeine in it.
Oh, that's what I'm talking
A
about.
lot.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm talking
You get
about.
high off of that.
We were talking for the last 3 months, how can we make our caffeine hit our faces
Yeah.
harder?
Yeah,
That's been our
It
conversation every day.
It is straight to the brain.
That's
with
what
those,
we need.
Those little bubbles.
I like that.
And it's like a Guinness. It makes it like a Guinness.
I don't
kinda.
know if I've ever had a Guinness.
You'll have to try it now.
Maybe once. I don't know. I don't know.
Keith is very upset with you. He's gonna fucking punch you out again for the third time, for the third or fourth time today already.
just-
How'd you guys get involved with this whole caveman coffee thing? What's the freaking story?
Well, I'll start. That's an interesting story. I've told this 100 times before. Should I just go in the whole thing?
Sure. Yeah. This. I mean,
you know,
you can give us
first-
snippets. It doesn't matter.
we
Yeah,
we
yeah.
just
Hit us-
all we
yeah,
all
hit
love
us with the whole
coffee.
story.
Or
Let's
make up
hear
a
it.
whole new one.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Remember, the goal of this show is to be pointless. So,
Yeah,
so let's
pointless.
keep that.
So Tait and I, there's a whole nother branch of the story.
There's so many branches to this story.
There's
You guys, first of all, you guys are happily married. Congratulations.
This is inadvertently Keith has been my life partner,
We
which
gotta-
I never expected.
We got a 3-way marriage going on right
Wow.
now. Yeah, Lacey, me, and Tait. I mean,
Damn.
Yeah, why isn't
Here.
Lacey here? Why did you two ugly guys show up and you couldn't bring the cute
I
blonde?
thought
don't
she
know.
was coming. That's why I showed up. I was
she
here
wanted
early.
to come and I was like, well, come. And then she had a meeting. Rob Orlando's down in LA right now.
okay.
She
yeah.
chose Rob Orlando over this?
Well,
CrossFitter.
business.
Oh.
Business.
A CrossFitter,
Because
I see
we're
how
setting
that
up
is.
another caveman in his gym.
Oh, that's cool.
Odie's.
Great.
So, I know, much to her chagrin, she couldn't be here.
We'll have her up here
I got
alone.
a pump and
That'd be
everything
awesome.
for
She'd
her.
love it.
Working
She'd
out like a
love it.
madman, thinking she was coming.
Yeah, we've been dieting for 3 months.
Well, as I was saying, in it seems like there's not, even in LA, there's not too many big, ugly, I don't know, what's our description, masculine kind of guys
Handsome and masculine.
in movies.
Rugged.
And,
Regular American men.
yeah,
Maybe a
regular.
little Stone Cold-esque.
Well, George
Yeah.
Clooney, they just figure he's busy all the time. So me and
That's
Tait always get called for the same auditions for the same
Who do we
movie
know
parts.
that's really ugly? And they call you guys? Is that really how it happens? That's terrible.
Well, it's more like
Typecasting.
The way he says it in that way, I think it's like, who can we get in here that looks like he's a man to be dealt with that can get
I
the job
gotcha.
done? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
So you're a professional
An
ass kicker.
executioner.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You know.
It's a joke. Like, I'll call Tait. Hey, Tait, did you read for it? And then he'll start saying the lines that I just read for, like before I even get to it. Yeah.
It's not as adorable as it sounds, I mean, but it does happen.
Yeah. But anyway, so we were at, I think it was Breaking Bad or something else. We were at an audition, and I haven't seen Tait in a while. And this is like at the end of my fighting career. Like I did my last fight. I'm thinking about retirement, and like I'm trying to figure out life right now, and I'm kind of down. I'm opening up this yoga studio, and I'm doing all this stuff.
Yoga?
Yeah, yoga's good for you. Try it. Have you?
That guy? That guy can't even. He can't even. tie his
Anyway,
shoes.
anyways, we'll keep going.
We'll talk about that this later.
Yeah. So I run into Tait, and we do the audition. He sits down with me for about 45 minutes afterwards. How's everything going? How's your diet? How's this and that? And he proposes a few things to me. He proposes like Rob Wolf's paleo solution. He's like, maybe you should look at this, and maybe you should. There's this coffee. There's a coffee thing that I'm doing. You put butter and MCT in your coffee, and butter. And like,
Do you think he was crazy?
I thought it was insane. I thought if I ate a stick of butter, I would literally have a heart attack. You know, I was still like that kind of
Right, yeah.
Saturated fat, blah 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 blah.
Exactly. So it took me about a month to try that. Anyways, so I'm like, what am I going to do now in my life? I'm working out twice a day, insane workouts twice a day, most days of the week. Some day off might be a light one day, just to maintain body image. It's not even to lose weight.
So you're trying to get jacked and tan.
Yeah, like I'm a long ways from getting jacked in town because my body's fucked. My body's messed up right now.
Yeah, you can't swear on this show, right?
Oh yeah, you can say whatever the hell you want.
My body's fucked anyway. So it took me about a month to try it. I'm pretty slow on everything I do. I take a month. I remember I was driving to the yoga studio, and I tried this coffee. I put the butter. I put the.
And the other thing too is that when we had that conversation, we sat and we talked. I don't know, an hour or 2 hours. We talked for a long time, and we talked about like mood displacements and stuff too, like ups and downs, and like what happens when you're fighting, and like kind of like at a certain point you are kind of grinding steel on steel. You're not getting returns for the output of work that you're doing, right? And so
adrenals are fried.
And when you do that, you get like you're not happy. You're up and down a lot in your mood all the time, and so there's like a subtle depression that kind of is the overlay of your life, where you don't even really notice that you're depressed. Like that's just how you are at that point. And so like there's all that, and then when you start adding in sugar and stuff like that, and your insulin spiking up and down all day long, you go on this roller coaster throughout the day. And so that's why that's kind of like, that was my thing with going into like a high fat diet for me was I go, fuck man, my mood's evened out, and I had more constant energy throughout the day and all that. And so I was trying to like really impart that to Keith, especially he did, went down to 185 for a minute, and that stuff wasn't maybe the best choices, and how he was doing it dietetically wasn't really great either. Is that a word, dietetically?
It is now.
So
don't question me.
So the first time I did the butter coffee with the MCT, just butter MCT, bad coffee. I use it with. I'm driving to the place, and halfway there, probably 20 minutes after I drink the coffee, this incredible euphoria hits me, and like, wow, like I feel amazing, and I start thinking like, what did I take today? Oh, the coffee. Well, what's in the coffee? There's got to be drugs in that coffee. What? It was only butter
what the hell was in there?
MCT, and I just got this. I was just so uplifted and so positive, and so I got really worried after that I was going to crash because I'm up right now. Oh shit, I'm going to crash in about half an hour.
Yeah.
And then that
You'd be miserable.
Yeah. So the next half hour, next hour, whatever, I felt amazing, and then from that point on, like I was just like what Tait did with me. I was just trying to spread the word to everybody I knew about this coffee, and then it turned into the paleo diet, and I started doing the high fat diet where I'm eating T-bone steaks and a lot of veggies and all that. And every morning I step on the scale because I still have OCD. I don't anymore, but I still did. Was okay, it's gonna be something bad.
Right.
And then I started losing weight every day, and I'm working out like a quarter as much as I used to.
And you're like, what the fuck's going on here?
And so that's how, from my point of view, that's how this company started, and it was already going on with Tait. Is we were just kind of we're just spreading the word. We're just kind of telling people
things you're already believing
lifestyle,
in. You're already becoming a believer in these different methods. Yeah. And then you kind of just started to find your own path. How did you start to find coffee? One thing I find unique about your product, especially the MCT oil, a lot of people, some people like coconut, but a lot of people don't like the flavor of coconut. You guys have coconut oil that doesn't taste coconut coconut E to me. So what's the deal with the MCTs, and just how did you guys start to dig into figuring out these formulas? Because you don't just wake up one day and say, fuck, man, I need to make my own coffee, and then boom, you do it.
Yeah, were you like coffee
There's
connoisseurs?
got to be a little bit of a story behind it, right?
Or you just drink coffee for fun?
No, we kind of turned into that.
I mean, it's like I was always really into it, like, and I always worked in. It's been a part of my life for a long time, and I didn't really have a taste or like a palate, I guess, like for it, like the way that I've learned in the last couple of years, really, for sure. But you know, we were just after function, like we just wanted function and performance out of our lives, and like a lot of that, like checking your scale all the time and all that kind of shit, and like you couldn't talk to somebody about doing it if they were still fighting,
right?
If they were still competing, because there's so much superstition involved in like in a weight cut and all. And so that's really, it's like maybe not even OCD, but you're dealing with superstition that you have to, because if your blood sugar's fucked up, or if you do a poor weight cut, like your second round of that fight is going to be horrific. Like you know what I mean? It's like there's a price to pay, and so you get into these ways of doing things, which we've always done it this way, and that's why we're doing it this way, which is never really the best answer for doing it that way, right?
Do you guys know each other through fighting? Mm-hmm. You guys just started fighting at a similar camp or similar training ground?
He was in Albuquerque, I was in Santa Fe. And
how long ago?
2001, maybe
15 years.
So fighting has changed a ton, you know, over the years, and you guys are kind of mentioning.
You mean there's money now? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's money for some of the guys, right?
For the owners.
For the owners,
and people look at the guys in stars, the guys in lights right now, and really look up to them now. Like we were just cavemen, literally cavemen, just
there you go.
Interested in fighting,
right?
I mean, even at the top levels, there's a reason that they buy the star. Like John Jones didn't buy himself a Bentley,
right?
Ronda didn't buy himself. Like they bought those cars. Like it's like there's still maybe not even at the top level the best money, but you need our stars to drive good cars,
right?
I mean, but at that time, I remember doing bodyguard work still for Rogan at that time, and we'd go into the Spearmint Rhino and.
What is that?
It's a steakhouse, and a
lot of meat there for sure.
in Vegas, and fucking Frank Mears, the head bouncer there, and like there's
one of the best practitioners of jiu-jitsu in
the
world.
Well, he was the heavyweight
head of security,
heavyweight champion of the UFC at that same time. That was when he was the heavyweight champion of the UFC, right?
And he needs to make $200 a night.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like the biggest upcoming sport in the world. Like there's 3 guys that were top level guys that were there. Yeah. Like I think Baroni was working there that time. Like it was crazy. It was crazy, right? And so like that's the kind of thing that you're talking about. Is like you're really talking about like with guys like us. Is like that was a love of the sport and like finding out like, well, who am I under these conditions, and am I able to express my art form under these very severe conditions?
Has the mentality changed over the years? Because now like if you are with like UFC, does like do you get a speech or something like, hey man, we want you guys to act like fucking animals. We want you to be like cavemen in the ring, but out of the ring, you got to fucking watch yourself. Or is that just kind of like you guys already know that because you've been doing martial arts for so long? And
I think it's self-leveling. I mean, you see guys that throw out a tweet. That little kid out of Chicago, Miguel something. He was I think Miguel Torres maybe, but he threw out a tweet like a joke that was like a rape joke about a van that wasn't really
right.
It was a silly
People
joke. People
can't handle
right?
rape jokes the way they used to. I mean, come on.
But he got released.
Let's lighten up out there.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like if you say stuff like that, and then there's different rules for different guys too, for sure.
Yeah, well, I think the UFC, it's a new MMA in general is newer sport than baseball. Right. And the UFC's now reaching a height that it hasn't, so it has to follow the regulations that the NFL do and the NBA. They're trying to keep up, and they do a decent job of it.
I think in the beginning, any news news was good news. Like whatever, if you get yourself in the news, that was great.
Right.
Yeah, just more publicity.
Publicity. Now it's like they're really trying to be PC, and you see them.
Like I've heard. I'm sure there's probably many situations like this, but I heard like years ago out in Vegas at like the MGM Grand, there was just like an absolute just melee of some UFC guys just dropping people. You guys hear stories like that, or you guys?
I hadn't. The only one I heard of like that was in England. It happened outside a nightclub, and a bunch of guys were out there, Chuck and Tito, and Miletich was there.
This isn't the era we're talking about. This is before 2000. This is before the Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That was back in the day. And
Right. Maybe that's what I was thinking of. It involves the guy that was a UFC fighter for a while, and he went to like Morocco, and he escaped
That's
with
Lee,
like
Lee
millions
Murray.
of
That's my hero.
millions of dollars.
Yeah.
He's everybody's hero.
Yeah, he's dope. That's a great story.
That fucking story is unbelievable.
I want that as a movie.
My brother wants to make that a fucking movie. Let's make it happen today.
Fantastic story,
Yeah.
man. He like if your listeners don't know, it's like Lee
It's
Murray,
the highest bank robbery in the history of the United States or something, right?
in the history of the world, the largest bank robbery ever to fucking happen.
And
I
he's
think
still
it was
just
like
chilling, right? He's still just hanging.
No, he's in prison.
Oh,
It's-
whoops.
I think it's like
Not a
a
happy
spoiler.
Hey, no. Yeah.
It's like-
you ruined the movie.
Like 100 million pounds or
Yeah.
300 million pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's a gangster. He was like I think the head of London Shoot Fighters. He was one of their main fighters, and then he was one of these soccer hooligans, and he was the head of that, which is kind of like a maybe loosely organized deal, right?
Right.
But he's the guy they look up to, and then he beat a guy, a Puerto Rican dude, I can't remember his name, in the UFC. He triangled him, and then he always had beef with Tito. He was always calling him out, but he was like a 170 pounder. He was really way lighter, but
Right.
I don't know
He
what
didn't
his
give a
thing with
shit.
Tito was. And then the UFC did I think it was their first show in England, and they're all standing out. And Chuck said that dudes just started coming out, and he's hammered, and he's just ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding,
Yeah.
and just dropping dudes. He's like, it was a blast, and like shooting skeet,
like a video game?
shooting skeet for him, right?
Yeah.
And Lee comes out and comes over the top and smashes Tito, knocks him out cold, and starts going at him. And then it was weird. It was a weird thing, man, because I worked for these two English dudes then that were bodyguard for them, and they were there that night. And Lee wanted to kill him. He wanted to, and he's like,
Right.
I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get my gun. I'm going to this
shit.
hotel, and like it was like that kind of like
He got that
it was
serious.
it was kind of a serious thing, right? And anyway, they pull Lee off, and he goes, and then I don't know, maybe, and he was into all kinds of shit. So the next thing you hear it on like the Underground or something, which is the this fan site for MMA, and Lee's been stabbed outside a nightclub.
Oh, shit.
And that was like maybe a couple years later, right? And he tells the story. He got stabbed like 6 or 8 times, but
Wow.
he thought the guys were just punching him because
He didn't know what was going
You're
on.
getting hit with steel, and
Yeah.
it just feels like
And
that, right?
adrenaline and
Yeah.
He got his heart nicked. He goes into a coma for 6 weeks or something like that.
Oh my God.
Comes to, gets released from the hospital, and like 3 weeks after he's left the hospital, like no time at all, he's out hitting pads. And he puts a video on the Underground. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be back soon. All my fans." Da, 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 da. And I'm like, this guy is a psycho.
Yeah.
I love this guy. I love him.
is this before or after he robbed?
And
the
then,
bank?
so then about 3 weeks after that, you hear Lee Murray's in the wind, and fucking they're looking for him, and they picked up 60 people because the largest bank robbery in the history of England has gone down.
This is amazing.
And
Does he look like me? Could I play him in the movie?
Sure, if you were skinnier.
I'll lose weight.
And they robbed the depository or something. So he knew somebody in a truck,
Right.
And they went in, and they got like maybe a quarter of the money back like right away. But they just pick up everybody to see who's going to snitch on who. And Lee and his buddy were gone, and they didn't see him. I don't know, 6 months or a year or something. But then Lee has got the mind that he does, and he is in Morocco, and he posts pictures to the Underground again because he just loves the fans and the attention. And so he's got an $800,000 villa in Morocco, and he posts this picture.
Yeah, big selfie.
Rivera. It was Rivera was the guy he triangled. And fucking it's him triangling this guy with this really horrible artwork that's tile. So it's probably hard. I don't know. I don't do tile work.
So he
but
has
like,
a mural of
But
himself.
it's a mural of himself that is like
That's
12
awesome.
by 12 on the bathroom wall. And that's what he posts. And he's like, here's my $800,000 villa.
That's
like,
sick.
So you're basically admitting that you robbed the bank.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
And he's there, and his dad is Moroccan, so they won't extradite him. And Morocco says, "Fuck you" to England. We're not doing it. I'm like, the SAS is going to put a bullet in him for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
you don't get to do that and get
Yeah.
away, right? And then they didn't need to because he's nutty. He gets arrested, kidnapping a guy, possession of cocaine. Like a guy said something to him in the bar he didn't like. He beat his ass, and then he locked him in a closet. They gave him a kidnapping deal, and he got busted with some blow. And then eventually he did get extradited, and now he's in prison in England right now. But what a great fucking story. I mean, this guy's that's only the parts that I know of his life. You know,
what an awesome guy to look up to.
What a colorful creature, yeah. So kids, if you're out there looking for a role model, Lee Murray.
Guys, where does all this start? You know, for you guys, it's very normal to grab a hold of somebody and break their arm. It's part of your part of what you guys fucking do. It's how you roll. You know.
Yeah, I've never been in a fight in my life.
Right, but
you're serious.
I swear.
You've never been punched in the mouth or nothing.
I've probably like chucked a kid on his head, but it was like on the playground.
Crazy.
I just try to talk my way out of it.
That's weird because you're a really cool guy. Most dudes that have never been punched in the mouth are kind of dickheads.
Yeah, I tried not to be a dickhead. Maybe that's why I've never been punched in the mouth.
It's amazing.
I've been punched, so
yeah.
But it's been a long time.
And you're a good, kind person.
Thank you. Where does all this start? I mean, is there is there anger? Is there some stuff when you're a kid? Growing up, without a dad or some shit. Is there some story
How
to
much
it?
of it
His dad is right here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Dad,
you got some stories?
If I had somebody to roll the camera around, I would do that. But
Man, I don't know.
When we get the new place.
we get it,
Or is it just simply a sport for you, and that's it? That's where it ends.
What became simply a sport? It's just, I don't know, something. We try. A lot of guys tried other sports. I tried a football and went to a certain level and whatever. And man, fighting, like I was always good at just being tougher than the next guy in my sports, whatever I did. I was never a better athlete, but I was always the tougher guy.
Were you known for being a badass in your area, kind of thing? Like, Keith, don't
Keith was
don't
like,
piss him
he was
off.
like a bounty hunter. He was like,
Right.
He wrestled at the Olympic Training Center for a little bit. Like it was always an athlete and was always like a higher end consciousness, and then coupled with also being super intellectually bright, like always reading books, and then excelling at sports.
Right.
Well, I don't know about that. Like what you said is not quite right. I was at the Olympic Training Center training for a while, but
Didn't you wrestle Evan Tanner?
No, some other guy you think I forgot the guy's name. Anyway, it was actually quite retarded. The other coaches, I was coaching at a college football team after my college. I was playing college football, and I'd be going to these high international level wrestling tournaments, and I would just like run uphill a couple times, maybe shoot takedowns on a high school guy, and go to these incredibly large tournaments. And like, why are you doing that? And like, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I had to do something, and then I'd go and I would kind of like be all right for the first 30 seconds and then just get hammered at like these Olympic caliber wrestling tournaments. I'd go to the USA Nationals unattached and having only ran a little bit, and I'd do these things. It's just because there's that something burning inside of you that you need some sort of outlet. And like I was telling someone before, like I started doing like when I wasn't doing anything, I found myself like I started to bully people. I'm not a bully. I'd go to the bar and start like peck on people in the bar. Like, you looking at me? What are you looking? Do I know you?
Right.
I'd be doing that whole number, and that's not me. So it's just something burning inside you. You got to get that outlet. And even now to this day, Tait and I talk about it all the time. If you don't have something, like whether it's lifting weights, seeing how much you can deadlift, whatever, you got to have something, or else you're just gonna
like a real physical goal. I think where you put yourself in.
Yeah.
I think it's important to try stuff that you're nervous to try, that you don't know that you can do, and to get into like uncertain waters. Like I think that's for anybody I think that's interesting or to look up to or that I like is like it's people that put themselves in uncomfortable positions on a regular basis in order to see who they are now. You know what I mean? And I think that's a huge part of it. I mean,
test your flight or flight.
I come from a real different back. Like I played hockey as a kid in Michigan and all that, but and we fought a lot in hockey, but it wasn't like oh, I'm going to do this thing where I can start fighting. Like that wasn't like
even with a sport, it's kind of a cover up for like a fight almost in a way. It's like
that's the thing that I always thought was so silly about like football
or
something. I'm like, the guy pushes a guy and guy pushes him back, and then this little anemic looking dude in a striped shirt blows a whistle, and these two gorillas stop. And I'm like, that is the silliest expression I've ever seen in the like. That's crazy. And then it's all mitigated. Then you see these guys that are pretending because they know that a ref will stop it. And I'm like, that is some silly shit. And I'd gone in a couple places like like karate schools or Aikido schools, and I'm like, any tough wrestler is beating the shit out of everybody in the room, and like what real hard work and repetitions were. And then I met a guy that was a stick fighter, and he was a founding member of this group called the Dog Brothers, and that's kind of where I began like any kind of organized thing. I was just kind of a junkie and a criminal up until that point, really, I guess, in my life, and that really altered my life in a lot of ways and gave me a discipline. And then I found out how I thought I was a tough guy,
right?
And then I found out how tough I wasn't, and then I got to learn more.
Doing MMA with sticks is incredibly humbling, right?
yeah, for sure. And also, it's weird too. Like I remember, I fought one time and I lost. I'd usually tape my sticks because you get sweaty and they slip easy. And
you just beat each other with sticks?
Yeah, well, I mean that's what it looks like.
Do you have pads on or anything?
You got little gloves on and a face mask so that you don't cut your eyes, but that's it.
Otherwise, you're just slapping each other with a stick.
I mean, unless you're a coward, and then you'll put on pads.
And then you'll be here on a podcast.
No, yeah, I mean, it's the way it started was these guys. They were international stick fighters, and they like Arlen Sanford is one guy, and Eric Knaus another, and they were the founding members of the Dog Brothers. And Arlen actually is a real big fan of the slingshot and all that. Like, he's into that. He's like,
that's awesome.
I was thinking of getting some knee pads. What do you think about that? I'm like, I'll get you some, Arlen.
Yeah. There you go.
But anyway, they took like first and second at this tournament, and they're all heavily padded. But they go, well, how much did that strike get mitigated by these pads I have on? Would that really happen? Or when I came across your head, would that have put you down, and that's the end of the fight? And so it was like point karate in a way where it's like I can touch you so many times fast, and there's guys counting how many touches people get.
Yeah.
Right? So they wanted to make it more real. So then they went to Eric. Eric said, hey, you want to come to my house and we'll fight for the next couple days if you don't have to go back to New Mexico. And Arlen's like, yeah, that sounds awesome. And they knocked each other out a couple times.
See, that's what I want to explain to you guys. This is probably news to you.
Me and Mark don't do that.
This is not normal behavior. However, I would say that like fighting is somewhere in our blood. Like it's in everyone's DNA somewhere, to the point where there could be a professional football game going on with athletes being paid millions of dollars to do what they're doing. They could be in the middle of a play. It could be the fucking Super Bowl, and two drunk guys in the crowd get into a fight, and where does everybody's attention turn to?
Mm-hmm. The funniest thing is at the UFC, when a fight breaks out at the UFC, even there, where you're watching these, people are like, oh shit, look at that up there.
That guy threw beer on that other guy.
Yeah, it's a trip. I mean, it is. It's like he said, it's in everybody. It's like everything's in everybody. And like, I don't know if you ever read through like that
you guys just happen to be really good at it.
That DSM-3 or whatever, like
I know
like
for
mental illnesses
right,
or whatever,
right?
I don't know, it's terrifying to read because you're in there everywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're just talking about degrees.
Right.
And so like whatever your expressions are of whether it's your lust or your violence or your tenderness or anything, it's like that's a sickness.
Right.
If it's amplified, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So like at a certain way, like how do you really get discipline and control yourself as a human? And,
right.
And so and like when you said, oh, you guys are just really good at it, like I'm not. Like I put in a lot of reps, and I found out at a certain point that other people wouldn't. Like other people wouldn't work hard, or other people weren't like gonna last. And then I go, oh, you're tough, and you're dogged. You'll finish at least. Like. And that was the thing, and like that's not good enough today in the sport at all. Like there's, like an athlete like me, I couldn't.
But it teaches you good lessons for life, because it's all you really have to do with anything.
It's huge.
If you want your own fucking coffee, all you got to do is follow through with an idea, right?
Right, and it is that like how to put one foot in front of the other, and have consistency, and that's the thing that gave me, I guess, a discipline and a consistency, and I think that's for anybody. Like whatever you do, if like you go, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do 3 bench presses today. Every day at 5 a.m. and you set that thing, and that's your thing. Like you've got a structure then, and if you stay true to that, that will bleed into your life and cause greatness everywhere. It just will. Whether it's fucking yoga or whether you're like, I'm going to do flower arrangements or whatever. If you have that one thing that you can do and you really pay attention to it, I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah. So Tait, you have a gym, like a strength and conditioning gym.
Yep.
Keith, you said you had like a yoga studio.
Yoga studio.
So is that all before the coffee? That
He's got
blended
like a
with the coffee?
yoga TRX.
Cool.
And sandbag gym.
Where's
that
that
goes
at?
and just murders people in Albuquerque.
Both are in Albuquerque. Yours is in
Mine's
LA?
in Santa Fe.
Okay.
Yeah.
How'd you get into yoga? How'd that happen? It doesn't seem fitting.
He's got this little badass that is next to him most of the time.
Yeah, my fiance is a yoga teacher.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, we met her at the LA Fit Expo.
And
yoga,
she's
like-
also number 5 ass kicker in the world at her weight.
Jody Escobar,
Yeah.
I strong arm.
That'll make you into yoga.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck it, yeah, I'm down with yoga. She's hot. I'm in. Count me in.
Exactly. I strong arm everybody I see. I don't care who you are. I strong arm everybody to get in a yoga class.
What do you think's like beneficial about it that you've noticed?
Well, just proper movement in your body, and figuring out your weaknesses in certain, like, oh, I really suck at this position, so I really have a weakness here.
It's really hard to hold a position.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that looks so simple, right?
And then we do it in the heat. Like, I think the heat is a lot more masculine, actually. It helps you withdraw
because you're sweatier and in less clothes.
So Bikram style.
Let's just do it right now. Then.
It's Bikram style. A minute.
Hey now.
Yeah, but the first time I did yoga class, it was a Bikram's class, and Bikram's, oh my God, it's an hour and a half, just excruciating, and it's like, I remember it reminded me of jiu-jitsu. Like, when you're in jiu-jitsu, when you first start, when you're not very good, and somebody's on top of you, it's like the harder you try, the worse it gets, and you're suffocating and you can't breathe. And the only way to really
being in a
keep
trap
moving forward is to relax and I'm okay, and I'm going to gain each little position, small position at a time. Like, I'm not thinking about big movements. Like, I got to get out of the room. I'm thinking about how am I going to save this little tiny little bit.
Right.
And so it seemed like jiu-jitsu right away to me, and then it just kind of grew from there.
I think it's cool too, and like what I find in it is that you get to unplug. It's like we're so plugged in everywhere,
right?
And like to go somewhere and just to be in that space, like even if you just go there and lay there, like you're unplugged for an hour and a half, and there's a huge benefit to that, man. There really is.
It is nice to get unconnected from everything.
Yeah,
for a little bit.
meditative, and that's anything you do. Yoga is first really concentrating on being within yourself, counting your breaths, and being meditative. But whatever you do, you can be doing jiu-jitsu, you can be lifting weights. Everything is really a meditation in itself.
Did you do yoga during when you were still fighting, or was it later?
Yeah, absolutely, I did, but you get insane when you're fighting. Like Tait was talking earlier, and I was always worried about sweating too much because I'd sweat 5 pounds in a practice, and now so I don't want to go sweat again in a yoga class. So it was more in the
with fighting. You know, when you watch these guys on TV, you know, you sometimes lose track of the fact that they are professionals, and especially the UFC guys. There's probably no doubt that each guy that's in the ring has been doing it like at least a decade. How do you get comfortable with like being uncomfortable, like you just said, like in jiu-jitsu, you're on the ground, and I noticed the guys sometimes will even like almost close their eyes. Like Hoist Gracie used to like just get into this zone. He just kind of like,
I love that feeling.
Yeah, it's trippy, but like how do you get there? Is it something it's a lot of repetitions, like you were mentioning earlier?
Yeah, people call it like flow or whatever. Yeah,
it's that flow.
The guy's on top of you trying to fucking punch you in the face.
Yeah, but that's
you find where you can be safe though.
Yeah.
And you get calm, man. Like,
you have a hold of the guy enough to where you kind of realize where his arms are and stuff like that.
It's just surreal. Like, you're really in the moment. You're not thinking. If you're really in the moment, you're doing a good job. You're not thinking about, like, I'm on the cage getting pounded.
Right.
I'm not thinking about I need to get up. I'm not visualizing myself in the middle of the ring. I need to get to this point boxing this guy. Right. I'm thinking about how I need to get my leg behind me and shield myself with my left arm, just every little bit. And with that, if you're thinking about in the exact moment of everything, it's not so bad.
Right.
It's awesome.
But when you're separated from it and you're conscious in your mind, oh shit, I'm getting pounded in the face. Oh, I just got cut. I think I see blood in my eyes. Like, it's just a
and stuff's coming at you a lot faster.
Yeah.
It is those little micro battles though too. Is like I only got to get to my elbow. If I get to my elbow, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah,
I'm not thinking about I'm going to knee him in the face. I'm thinking, well, if I have an underhook, I'm pretty good here. And if I get to my elbow, he can't punch me because he has to start defending my elbow. Like, it's like there's all those little nuances.
Speaking about that, I love that talking, and that's what the fun part is when you're doing that, and like you're so disconnected. Like, oh, I can't see. Oh, there's blood in my eyes. Is that mine or his? Like, you're just so disconnected, you know.
Right.
And those are like all just fleeting things back, and then you're back to the moment. Every time I've gotten in trouble is where like I was really conscious, like I'm gonna step to the right and throw this punch because this is what I drilled in practice.
I'm sure you guys got into fights when you were kids, just like nearly everybody else, except for Silent Mike. What's the it's got to be a lot different when they say you're fighting Saturday night, 9 o'clock. But the whole thing starts at 8 o'clock or something, and you might be on around 9. But then this fight is short, and that fight's long. And how does that feel in comparison?
Before then,
in comparison to someone saying "fuck you" and you just go at it with somebody and it's over quick.
Way better. That's why every dummy out there that thinks I could do that, and it's like even if you had a fight date, like how shitty is it when you're in school and the bully goes, I'll see you at 3.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Fuck, it's only 9 a.m.
Yeah. You're stretching
and then
out.
Everybody's talking to you about that until 3. Like, that's coming. Like, that's, that's
my
way
dad.
different than, bam, I got clipped, and now we're in it.
But
my dad,
some dude hitting on your girlfriend in front of you, like how easy is that to fight
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
My dad got into a fight, believe it or not. My dad's like 5'4". You guys all seen him in Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Nicest guy in the entire world. He got into a fight when he was in high school. He got into a fight with a kid in gym class. And they wrestled around a little bit. And my dad got on top of him. My dad got a shot or two, and it was broken up. And this guy was a bully. And the guy's like, hey, he's like, see you after school. See you at 3 o'clock. And my dad's like, all right. So they go do their thing. People gather around and stuff. And my dad says, hey, last time we were fighting, I was on top. And the guy goes, oh, yeah. My dad started on top and beat the guy's ass.
No way. That's
That's
cool.
an accountant for you right there. Yeah.
And how kids are gentlemen. They're like, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Good. Hey, good point, man.
Shit, that is right. That's awesome.
That's a
you
way
ever
to
see there's a movie.
But there's no rules in fighting.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, right now I'm going to set up some.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, I'm not going to do it unless we're going to start in the right position.
That's right.
Butch Cassidy, yeah.
You ever see 3 o'clock high?
I don't think so.
It's a classic bully movie about that. About like I'll see you at 3 o'clock,
Right.
And all the whole day that goes for this high school kid. Anyway, yeah. I don't know, like and fighting as far as like when you talk about like, oh, did you was your childhood or this or that or whatever. I think for every guy that fights, there's a different expression of why they're doing that and what that looks like. And yeah, like I know guys like I go, oh, if he were mentally well, like if he had his demons in control, like he wouldn't be good anymore. That drive in him wouldn't be there anymore when the door closed. There's no way that would exist. And then there's dudes that are like very analytical and like George St. Pierre, I think, is a masterful fighter in that way. So thoughtful. Like there's not an emotional component to him in that.
I think Evander Holyfield was similar as a boxer.
Is that right?
He was just thinking about training, his diet. He was thinking about all these kind of meticulous things that he had to do to be better.
And
he wasn't necessarily thinking
control.
about punching your face off.
Yeah, or maybe Tyson was just a little angry.
No. I guarantee you
Rage.
everybody, though. I guarantee that everybody at a high level, even Mike Tyson, it doesn't look like a fight like it does to most people in their mind when they're going out. Like the nervousness is all like internal. Like it's about self-performance in anything you do. It's like, how am I feeling? How am I going to do it? How am I throwing punches? Am I in shape? How was my camp? I'm not worried. That guy's a monster. He's going to tear me up. Right. I'm not really thinking about that. And everybody's like that. It's more of a expression of art. It's more of a athletic competition, the way George used to put it to me. It's more that. It's not really, they're not thinking about it as a fight. Like we're just gonna.
It's not like it's a fight. It's not even violent.
No, it's not
it doesn't
violent.
seem like my mom would be like, doesn't that seem violent to you?
Do you ever have to kind of re-coach yourself back into that though? Because when I watch it, sometimes I'm like, man, these fucking guys, they seem like they lost sight of the fact that it's a fight. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's tactical.
Not me the way I'm made up though.
Right.
Because I was always there to get in the. I always wanted to get
scrap
in the scrap where it's bloody and I'm testing myself.
Right, it gets a little dirty.
If I was smart, like I'm a way better grappler than I am at boxing, I would have taken everybody down and really forced that points game.
That was the part that always pissed me off about Keith is that like nobody in the world knows what a fantastic grappler he is because he never allowed that to happen. It's like when you go and you're like, I want to prove this point to myself in this fight. I want to do this. It's like it's a different thing, and that's the kind of control though that guys have.
Vanderlei Silva. I got to see what it's like to fight Vanderlei Silva.
Right.
I want to.
Yeah, is he good at grappling? I don't know. Let's punch though, because I know he's great at that. I want to see how good I am in that way. Type thing.
Did you end up? Go ahead.
How hard or easy it is to take direction during a fight? To actually,
you always hear people screaming at you. How much of that do you hear?
Yeah, and how much of it can you act on?
Hear like one guy's voice. And it's like you kind of train, I don't know. If you're fortunate, like I feel like that we were, is that you have, there's a real fidelity there. Like the best part of fighting for me is like the guys in the gym for sure. And like all the lessons that are in between the fights, I think. But like, there's a guy like Joey Villasenor is like a real hero of mine. And he was a guy that was super helpful and like, or like Keith's voice or like, when you hear guys and they're saying real cogent. They're talking about get to your elbow instead of like, come on, get more out of it or whatever.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of idiots that have. And
it's not just be aggressive.
Punch him.
There's idiot coaching too, but like when you're talking to guys and
they're giving you something specific and tactical
you don't hear all the rest
that you can.
of the stuff. You hear that guy's voice.
And to me, it's more about the tone of voice. Like it's always like, all right, come on now, or all right, come on. There's just a different tone of voice that lets you know where you are, and if you're in tune with your coach, then it just like it keeps everything moving forward. It's not nothing real direct like, oh, you need to get double underhooks in this position. It
Right.
doesn't work like that. It's just tone of voice.
What's your Keith? What's your proudest moment in fighting? A lot of people listening. Hopefully, they all know that you knocked out Chuck Liddell. That had to feel pretty good. Was there some other things? I'm sure as a fighter, maybe you had certain weaknesses, and maybe you were able to kind of overcome those weaknesses and demonstrate some awesome skill that you find unique.
There's a lot of them. I'm Chuck Liddell. I beat him by decision actually, and I'm very proud of that because I didn't clip him or anything like that.
Right.
I point him. I did knock him down once.
Right.
Forrest Griffin was a big one. Brandon Vera was a big one. But usually the ones that, like the one that always sticks out with me is I fought this guy named Wilson Govia once. This guy is one of those guys. He's a gym guy. He never really showed up for fights. And this was his first fight in the UFC. He's one of the best guys, they say, in history out of American Top Team. And I had a really bad knee for that fight. I only trained on an Aerodyne for the last 3 weeks. And I was like, well, good thing I'm fighting this Wilson Govia guy. I never even heard of him. And then I thought I had it all dialed in for that fight. Like, I was, like, relaxed. I watched my buddy Dan Christensen fight earlier that day, and he had a war. And like, oh, I want to go do that.
Right.
And I just felt great. And going into that fight, I was just like, I was just walking across the street, like, no big deal. I'm going to fight this guy. I'm going to beat him up. And, like, I was way too relaxed. I didn't know that's not the way I thought I was doing everything right. And I got in the ring, and I proceeded to get my ass beat worse than I've ever done in any fight. Like, he just broke my nose in the first few seconds, took my knee out right away. Like, this all happened in the first 30 seconds.
The knee that's already bad.
Yeah, he did a leg kick, and I couldn't even put weight on it anymore, and just like I just got hammered that.
What's that like? That feeling of like you're overwhelmed. This dude's strong, he's coming at you hard, and you're like, "Fuck, man, I'm really up against it." Like,
yeah, I talked about this before. Like, you make a deal with yourself in life that that's where fighting translates to any kind of thing. Like, you're not going to quit. Like, I already made that deal. Like, I've been in I can tell you a million stories about fighting where maybe I should have quit or whatever, but, like, you're not going to quit. And you already made that deal. So whenever you see that path in the fight where here's the easy way out or here's the hard way, like, you already know that you're always going to take the hard way.
Right.
The easy way.
You're not going to look for a place to fall. You're going to go down swinging the best you can.
So there's nothing to really think about. You just keep moving. And I remember after getting hammered, you watch that fight again, I just get destroyed. I remember Rogan watching the commentary saying, like, ooh, like he's saying, Wilson, that was amazing kickboxing, whatever. I never thought. The last, like, 15, 20 seconds of that fight, like, I landed a couple things that you would barely even tell, but just, like, it gave me something to hold on to between rounds.
Right.
And then one of my favorite moments in fighting history is when my cornerman comes out and he starts telling me how to protect myself. That's always bad news when your cornerman tells you how to protect yourself. Cover up when you throw a punch.
You're a mess.
Yeah. And I hear Greg in the background. It's all right, Keith, you won that round. And I remember just like, oh, shut up, Greg. I know. I just got hammered.
Yeah.
So I went and then I went out in the next round and I beat him in the next round. In the third round, it just turned into like a leg kicking, bloody kind of thing. Like, I had a lot of things happen to me, like where time slowed down. And one time I got nailed, and it's just like time slowing down, and I hear this song, and like, oh, it's a song that's playing the Hard Rock. I think it was a Green Day, Wake Up Till Tomorrow, and I'm like listening to the song, and then like time's really slow, and then I remember talking, wait till I tell the boys about this after this fight. Like, this is all during, like, this all probably happened in a second, right? And it goes right back, and I protect myself, throw punches. Anyway, I end up winning that fight, and that was, that was one of those things I really like, and it really, I always think about that one when people ask. I mean, the Chuck fight, that's obvious.
Right.
Like I had to keep focused throughout the whole 3 rounds, looking at a monster and all that stuff, and but that's easy when you're looking at a monster trying to kill you.
Right.
Like you don't have
you get fired up for that.
You don't have too many options, and some, especially a guy that you look up to.
The craziest thing about that was sitting with Mr. Jardine and Rashad, I think. And I don't know, it was like huge. Like, I don't know how many people were there, but like, it's fucking massive. And then when you're there, all the lights go off, except just on the cage. Mm-hmm. And he's just there, alone in the cage under the lights. And it's Chuck fucking Liddell.
Yeah.
That is the I don't know, he was the most winningest 205er ever. That, you know what I mean?
I think he legitimately, like, you know,
and
people have their
nobody,
favorites, but he was like the coolest, you know?
They brought Jeremy Horn up like as a jiu-jitsu phenom to beat him and go, because there was nobody else. He'd smashed every fucking body.
Right.
And then there's Keith alone and everybody booing because Chuck's going to come and eat him. Is the deal. You know what I mean? And like that's what, like,
yeah,
like,
people are like, all right,
to
we're going
me,
to watch
like,
this guy get knocked out, too.
One of my favorite moments in fighting is that, and I go, that is the bravest fucker I know.
Yeah.
And then Chuck's a good friend and a great dude, and to watch him get beat for 3 rounds in a row, like, it was fucking amazing, man. And to watch it, because like to turn a tide in a fight is one thing, and to turn a whole crowd, it was an amazing experience, man, to behold.
They say that Sylvester Stallone was in the crowd when Chuck Wepner fought Muhammad Ali. Yeah. And Chuck Wepner turned the crowd around on Muhammad Ali because he knocked Ali down.
It's amazing.
Obviously, he lost the fight. He got his ass kicked pretty bad, but it's what inspired Stallone to write Rocky.
Really?
Yeah, that's the Rocky story.
He went the distance, right?
He went the distance.
He didn't get knocked down in the last round. He went the distance, right?
He went the distance, I believe, yeah.
Dad would know that. He's over there. Yeah, that's right. Did he get knocked out or did he go the distance? Webner. Distance. He won the distance, yeah.
Yeah, and in Rocky, he says, I wanted just to prove I'm not just another bum from the neighborhood. That's like, to me, that's the greatest quote of the whole thing, because that's what it's really about. It's about him surviving. He doesn't give a fuck about like being champ and having all these, you know, glorious things happen to him. He just wants to survive it, you know.
That's what I'm so proud of, being the era that me and Tait come from, is we talked about before, is when we first started training to fight, like I made $200 my first professional fight I ever had, of $100 to show up and $100 to win. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, you're like, this is sick, man. I love this.
I took everybody out to dinner.
That's great.
We were just doing it because we're testing ourselves. Maybe we want to be.
And at huge expense. Yeah. Like, you're only working jobs that will allow you, because all the guys can only get together to train at certain times. It's not like anybody can come at any time. So it's like this time. So then that's an amazing thing. So here's 20 guys or 6 guys or whatever it is that are all agreeing, I'm not going to work during these hours. I'll take a job as a bouncer or personal trainer or whatever I have to do so that I can be at the gym at that time, because that's the most important thing to me. And it offers me fucking nothing.
That's pretty cool.
Like that anybody can see, that anybody's family can see. And then I'm going to pay out of my pocket to go to Florida or to go to Denver or to and then hotel. Like, it's like, for guys that don't have any, I mean, brokester minimum wage dudes, that's what it is.
That's kind of like super training.
Yeah, it's what we love about powerlifting. That's a huge thing that we love about powerlifting. Like, you know, what do you get to bench 500 pounds? You get nothing.
You get maybe a high five.
Right. Yeah, someone says, hey, dude, that's awesome, man. That's cool. Because some people will, every once in a while, you run into people that are like you guys, and you'll understand that's a body of work to bench press fucking 500 pounds.
Yeah.
You know,
and so you'll be stoked about it. You'll be fucking fired up. You'll be like, that's awesome. You'll get it.
You know what I was
But
thinking?
most people don't get it. Most people are like, all right, whatever,
like,
dude.
when people say stuff like that, like, it's like when you're in gyms and you see, you know, a lady and she deadlifts 135 pounds or something like that, and then it's fucking, and you watch the fight, you watch the struggle, right? Yeah. And then you're like, fucking right on, and like, more oftentimes than not, they go, well, that's nothing. You can do fucking 10 times that, or whatever, right?
But we know what that pain feels like.
But it's not that. And then I try to correct right away, and I go, no, it's like, what we love to see is the struggle. I don't care if it's 135 pounds or 1,000 pounds. Like, to see somebody fight their own fucking will and to stay disciplined, and you're watching somebody force themselves to stay in that moment to make that happen. That's fucking life, man. That's where the beauty of it is. Everything else is sleepwalking, you know? Like, and after I think that you have experiences like that, that's why I say, like, whatever excellence is in wherever it is, it all translates. Whether it's powerlifting or fighting or playing the cello or whatever, like, once you have seen what that takes to become great at something, you appreciate every other fucking art form.
That's
you
true.
just do.
Tait, you mentioned you worked with Rogan. I know you're good friends with Rogan. Yeah, how'd that all come about? Was that before Fear Factor, before UFC?
No, he was during Fear. He was still doing Fear Factor, I think, and then they picked it up again.
He made you eat a cockroach.
Yeah, what's hanging out with him like?
It's great. It's a real different thing. You know, like, it's weird when you think about, like, he's like, I said, what's it like being rich? Like, and he's like, you can think about other shit. He's like, I'm not thinking about my cell phone bill. He's like, I'm free. You know what I mean? Like,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He's not worried about food or lodging or anything.
But he doesn't even. he's free in a way that it's like he's not writing a check. He doesn't know what his heating bill is because a company takes care of all that shit for him. You know what I mean? And so it's like, so there's that, and he's like, he's been super like wicked, inspirational, and thought provoking, and
it's motivational when you're with somebody that you aspire to get to a certain level. I'm sure you guys aspire to get to a level with Caveman Coffee. That's on the next level. And when you're hanging out with someone like Joe Rogan, you're like, man, this is really cool because. Not like you want to be him necessarily.
Yeah, but he's got a lot going on. He's successful.
Yeah.
He seems cool.
But
it's inspirational, motivational.
Talk about like people are talking about like, oh, he's got a lot of money. Like, well, he's very lucky, man. He's a funny guy, and he went and people like to watch him, and he did Fear Factor.
Hey, I'm funny and I'm broke.
He got really lucky doing Fear Factor.
Right.
That guy put his work in.
Yeah. He's been a comedian.
Yeah, the
for
same
over
gym
20
sweat
years,
you guys
right?
put in. He put in.
Well, that's
what
that's what comics talk about. They talk about working out. Where are you working out tonight? Are you going to Laugh Factory? Or are you going to Silver Lake to the stand up open mic
mention
deal?
it that way, yeah.
And it's like they all talk
training.
about they're working out, and they're doing it for nothing too.
Right.
Like all the comics everywhere in the world are doing it for nothing. And I don't care if you're Chris Rock. When he goes to the Comedy Store and dumps in, he's not getting paid for a spot there. He's there to work out because he needs that crowd and like that whole universal community that exists for everybody. It's like if you're conscious of that, like if you're excellent at something, you see that like I need community and cooperation or else I can't grow. I can't get better in a vacuum, right? And so I think that like comedy is a beautiful art form in that because that really it shows that like fuck everywhere and at every level. Like you see those guys all the time at the Comedy Store come in. Dave Chappelle was there a couple weeks ago. Rogan's there all week long, all the time. Like it's like they're always working out there. And I don't know what it is. Like I mean I know that like with hanging out with Rogan, like what it's like or whatever. It's like it became just a great friend and it's stuff like where you think like I grew up in Michigan and there's not like a tremendous amount of choices there, like a lot of those places like
fucking sucks. It's cold.
It's a different thing, but like so I think like for me like with fighting and everything, it's like it was rad because in this little town that I'm from, like there's nobody going to the Olympics. It's like and it like made me proud. I was like, fuck man, like you can do something,
Right.
And I think like Rogan was like that where he was from, and he's like, I just want to go and be bold, and it's like. And so he went out to where all his heroes were. And so you go and you move your life around what your dream is. And I think that dream happens for anybody. It's like if you're constantly working and vigilant about keeping your ego in a good displaced kind of arena and you know who you are and you do that scary thing every day and that shit, whatever you're into, whatever turns you on, fucking it will happen if you're true to it. And the thing is that we all need you to be turned on to do your thing. Like everybody needs to be at their like if everybody doesn't win then nobody wins kind of, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I think I think those kinds of ideas like really help to fortify themselves. Like ideas I had in my head, I would see that with hanging out with Joe and I would see it in like our group of people. I mean, like right now Ari Shaffir's got a fucking billboard on Sunset Boulevard right by the shitty apartment where he lived for the last 15 years. Oh, wow. And I fucking pulled up, I was like I'm taking a picture and fucking then Joe's retweeting the picture and fucking Duncan Trussell's like fucking it's awesome and like but you see everybody in that original crew of guys and everybody's doing really well and I don't think that's an accident. I think it's like you pay attention, you're hyper vigilant to your consciousness, you don't make excuses, and you fucking work hard every fucking moment.
Surround yourself with good people.
And you surround yourself, I mean, even more than that, like I don't know who the good people are, but you eradicate the cancerous ones, right?
On the way.
It's like, ooh, I didn't know what that even meant, but I go,
either you're in or you're in the way.
I feel kind of bad when I'm around this dude. This dude, I always feel like a little like, whoo, God, life's heavy. And then I'm like, that's because that motherfucker is
a
like
negative as shit.
So I don't know. And I think, I couldn't say, I mean, just about him, there's all those, like I got heroes like that everywhere. Like Keith for sure is one. And like I said, Joey and Holly Holm right now, like you see people like that and you go, those are the hardest working people I ever saw in my life. And they're working hard. Like Holly's working hard for all those years. Like she had a career as a boxer, but like you see a lot of like Julie Kedzie or like Jody and stuff like that. And they're never going to fight anywhere because people are saying there's never going to be women fights anymore.
Right.
And they're doing it anyway. Little John Dodson is like a hero to me. Like that kid's got a fucking smile on his face wherever he goes all the time. And he works hard as fuck. And he's 125 pounds. And they were never going to have that fucking class.
Right.
And so what keeps you, it's like the 500-pound bench. What keeps you striving when there is no payoff that other people can see? But we all go, oh, no, man, that fucking payoff, it's infinite, man.
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
Holly Holmes, she's down where you guys are, yeah? She trained with Bones Jones or something?
We're all in the same gym.
Oh, really?
I would say Bones trains with her.
Oh, all right.
That's
fair.
I mean,
That's fair.
he's a newcomer.
Yeah,
you know?
the newbie.
He is. He's still young.
Yeah.
Is he 23 or some shit? 20.
I remember I was so
24, I
mad when I first talked to him. I saw him whoop Stefan up here somewhere. I
Poor
think.
Stefan in that fight.
And Stefan had to be just shocked because here's a nobody. He's a wrestler.
Yeah.
Like that's how he gets. You get billed certain
Yeah,
guys.
yeah.
But he has different genes, right?
And he comes in and he's, I mean, fucking, he's hitting them with elbows that are like right crosses. And I was like, wow, his Muay Thai is savage. And and then months later he came to the gym and I go, hey man, because I like
You're pretty good.
guys would go to Holland, or they'd go to Thailand, or they'd go wherever and go and learn how to Thai box and shit. Like guys are like, it's a thing they're trying to pick up wherever. And I go, where'd you learn to kickbox like that? He goes, well, YouTube. And I'm
That's
like,
amazing.
Watch him Anderson Silva.
and
videos.
he says, and I was like, he could see my disgust, I'm sure. And I was like, because I got no talent at all. I got to work hard for every inch that I get. And you watched a video.
He's probably watching The Matrix to make it even funnier.
Well, and that's the thing
like,
is like, so, but that is the thing too. You see guys now, and like, who is it? Pettis that ran off the cage.
yeah.
Like you see Matrix shit. Like, so like that thing about human evolvement of sport. Of like, when people see stuff and they go, and like a little kid watches Jet Li, he doesn't know that that's choreographed. He goes, maybe I can move like that too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you suspend your disbelief and go into that human performance, like crazy shit happens. And we're starting to see that in fights right now, which is wild.
Yeah, it is nuts. And then Pettis got it taken to him the other day when he fought.
Last week before.
Yeah, he's an unbelievable talent. I was totally floored when I saw him get beat up like that. I was like, holy shit, man. But it happens to everybody, right?
Yeah.
The fight game is a humbling one.
And different days, different results.
The mental game is just so big in that. And that's a testament to John and John Dotson. All these guys have such a great mental game.
Stay in the course, and then also stay in the course when you're having things pull you in different directions. You're making money, and you're doing commercials and so on and so forth. That's got to be tough too.
Well, and when your nature is different. Like I always look at Carlos Condit, and I have the utmost respect. Like when I watch him fight Diaz, and people are like, oh, he ran or he did this and that. Like there's a lot of critics about that I want to say haven't done shit with their lives ever. But but you watch what Carlos did. Carlos is a savage. Like he's a killer. He's like an apex predator is what he is. And he goes to finish every single fight he ever fought in his life. And his mind is like that. And so that's like who he is genealogically. And you watch that fight, and he had a game plan, and he goes, it's going to be 5 rounds. I have to win the rounds. And so he did. And then he went against even flurries where he would have gotten into Nick's fight and didn't do that. Like it's really amazing that kind. And I don't know, I'm not saying it right to really say
that's what I never had. I never had the focus,
the discipline to do that for 5 full rounds for 29 minutes of your fucking life, where you're gonna stay dialed into that idea that is outside of what your body wants to do. Right. That's crazy. It's easy to go in and fucking and just throw and just get after it. Like when guys like to see those fights, but to do what Carlos did that night. I mean, to me, that's phenomenal. That's a phenomenal athlete and discipline, you know?
Do you think becoming civilized is like a thing that's maybe not so great for fighters? Like with these huge facilities that are super nice and super clean.
Yeah, you hear about
Is there some aspect of like the dirty, the grungy? You guys kind of kid around earlier about being bums. Like, is there some aspect of that you think is like missing from the sport a little bit? Like, or some guys, keep that on purpose? Yeah, air-conditioned gyms, just maybe a more padded lifestyle.
Like the UFC gym?
Rocky.
Yeah, well, you hear about Michael Phelps, the best Olympian, whatever, and he goes to a warehouse with just a pool inside of it in the middle of nowhere.
What is that, Rocky 3?
Yeah. Or Rocky 4. You got the Russian training with the sophisticated stuff.
Yeah. Why do they shove a needle in his arm?
I don't know. I think that's what everyone in UFC is doing too, isn't it?
Checking his blood.
Yeah, just right in the middle of fucking
Yeah.
training
they're
montage.
checking his blood.
They just shove a needle in his fucking arm.
Yeah, they want to make sure he wasn't sick.
Yeah, yeah, it was vitamin C.
It's a blood test, wasn't it?
You guys think it makes any
He's a
difference to
diabetic.
have a padded training camp, or
I don't know.
better off having it be a little more rugged?
I don't know really. The answer to that is just keeping savage. It's still a fight. People are always going to be savage. I worry about it going the way of boxing. All these kids now are looking up to their idols, and young kids are actually starting to want to be professional athletes and professional fighters. Maybe instead of being a professional football player, which is a big thing right now, they want to be a professional fighter. So it's going to be a whole new influx.
Yeah,
there are different types of people, but still the bottom line is still a fight, and it's still going to be dirty. But then like you go both ways. Like, man, being in the UFC right now, like it's harder now to make a living in the UFC than when I was fighting. There's way more weight classes. There's more people fighting.
competition level stiffer.
Competition may be a little stiffer.
You're able to fight less,
and people, it's harder to become a household name. If you're a household name, you got longevity and like couldn't tell you right now, it was a 135-pound champion, that kind of stuff,
Right.
So it's harder to make a living there. So now it's very
Mighty Mouse.
Mighty
Is
Mouse
it?
No, he's 125.
Right. Oh, is he lighter?
Who's just above him? Is it TJ?
Yeah. Well,
It might
TJ
be. It might be
Dillashaw.
from here.
There we go.
yeah. Well, anyway.
Sacramento.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's kind of the point.
Right.
But, so now, like, it's really important to win and to lose, not to lose. So,
Right.
So people are, I think.
What about
what's more important? I think is the guys that you train with. It's like people always said, "How come Albuquerque is so tough?" And it's like because there's not a lot of distractions there, and dudes wanted to get after it. Like there was dudes that, and then there's dudes
Bugs
too
Bunny was from there, right?
that
He made a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
that cared about it, that cared about other guys. And I think it's the people you train with that are most important. And for nice, fancy gyms and all that, you wouldn't have it like a Jacare or these guys that came from the favelas in Brazil, like guys that are real, that were the beginnings of the sport. Like there's, and so it's nice that like it's opening up more because like wrestling was a poorer sport. It's like you didn't need a lot of equipment and all that. Anybody could wrestle. And so now wrestlers have somewhere to go as far as an actual career. But I think it's who you train with is the more important thing, really.
What about the fighting, in Japan, years ago? It used to be used to see them a lot more rugged. There's a lot less rules. Yeah. Clearly guys were, taking whatever the hell they needed to get through the fight.
Being told to take whatever they needed.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Like with that kind of, I guess, like almost like farm system for guys like Chuck Liddell, because Chuck Liddell fought over there a bunch, Rampage Jackson, Vanderlei Silva. Those guys really got a really rough upbringing in the sport. And I don't know if you'll see that again with guys being that, that tough like that. Those guys are rugged motherfuckers, in my opinion.
Well, I love the old pride and all that. We start looking back at it. That's what they want. They wanted the monsters and they wanted the good fights, and that was the most important thing. It was just a spectacle of the show that they put on. Yeah.
Right, not the safest thing, but hey,
it was
fucking entertaining, right?
And fighting every month. I mean, that's like old school in America too. Like there's guys' names like Jeremy Horn's maybe the most popular one that they know, but like there's a half a dozen guys that would fight twice a month all the time. Like the first guys that were making a living doing it. If you're making $400 or $600, you need to fight twice a month to be able to take care, and that's what a lot of those guys were doing, those journeyman fighters, and they would travel through Iowa, Indiana, everywhere to go fight in these little regional shows. And that's
the first time somebody told me, dude, you should be making $1,000 a fight. $1,000 a fight?
What?
Really?
Just to go beat somebody up?
What am I doing wrong?
You guys ever get paid to do some back alley fights, some shit like that? Weird shit like that?
I got asked
that you can actually talk about?
I got asked to commentate felony fights once.
Oh, there you go.
Did you do it?
No.
Oh.
I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to see something that's not I don't want to see, like people go, "Oh, look at this link to like bodybuilding fuck ups at the gym or whatever," right? Like it's like I don't fucking need to see somebody underweight get crushed or snap
bloopers or
we hate on
I don't
that's not funny.
I don't like seeing any of that.
We hate on Facebook for that. You like turn on Facebook and that's all it is now.
I
Like
don't
bum
want any
fights
of that
or
in my life.
street fights.
Too much.
I either unfollow or unfriend people.
Yeah, it's too much.
Like, I don't need that shit in my life.
Yeah, it's too much. What you guys got going next? Some movies? Anything you can talk about? Caveman's moving up.
We got.
You guys under contract? Not allowed to talk.
I don't know if we can talk. We can talk.
What's the name of that movie?
There's only like 3 people listening, so who are we kidding?
Tait and I, like,
war on everybody.
War on everyone. We do.
Yeah.
I'm talking about we do
That'll be
auditions
fun.
together all the time.
Yeah.
This is a funny
We've
story.
been in, I don't know, 6 movies together or something like that.
Yeah, a lot coming out and not still done. And this, we talk about the auditions all the time. So I got this call, I got this audition, and they say, Keith, you're going to come in and you're going to read with somebody else. It's going to be supposed to be your twin brother, but we might work out so it's your brother. And so, like, right away I know, like, I'm going to go there and I'm going to see Tait. Tait's going to be there.
And I don't think anything because I'm a retard. And I'm out of the state somewhere, and I get the same email, and they go, yeah, you're going to read for this part, and then you're going to do something with another actor out of Albuquerque where you just ad-lib something. And I was like, oh, that's weird. So I disregard that because I don't have to memorize any of that. So that's how my mind works.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not a problem. So I don't even think about that third one anymore. And I work out this other shit. And then I go there, and, like, my acting coach was there. Like, I go right from the airport to the audition place, and I see Laura, and I was like, oh, hey, and fucking that was awesome. Like, I don't see her often, you know, and meet her little brother or sister or somebody, and then I look over, and then there's Keith, and I was like, oh, fucking rad, man. Maybe we'll get breakfast later. Like, and I go, and then I'm so dumb. I'm like, I bet he's reading the same thing as me right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't even really put shit
You're
together
auditioning
like
with
that.
the same
Like,
parts.
I'm
a lot of
just
times.
like, I'm just happy to see him, right? And so then he gets called in and all that, and then it dawned, and I'm thinking the whole time, I'm like, I wonder what fucking idiot they're gonna get me to read with. You know what I mean? And it's not until Keith calls me and he's like, Tait Fletcher come into the room or whatever. I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna do this with Keith. I'm like, rad. And then then we did.
So we're gonna start shooting that here in a couple of weeks. So
Some hooligan.
You guys,
brothers.
yes. Obviously must have taken acting courses and stuff like that, or you
Yeah,
just
what
jump
that-
right into it.
It was that transition like from fighting to acting?
I like you're talking about nervousness, and like what do you do? Like you see a lot of athletes post whatever their career, they're getting depression, they're getting in trouble, they're doing these things. What do you do? Well, I found my thing that, man, like talking about being nervous, and it's similar to fighting, is when you're in an audition, you walk into a room full of, like, maybe there's 5 other guys that are reading for the same part as you are. Maybe it's a big, burly, tough guy, and they all look bigger and burlier than you do.
Right.
Maybe you recognize some of them. These guys are professional actors that are trying to pay their rent. And so you got to go in there and you got to read your lines, and you wait till you're up next. Oh, shoot, I'm on deck now. I got to go up, and I've got to go in there in front of this camera. And I have one shot to spit out this back and forth dialogue that I hope I memorized and that I don't act like I'm reading.
That you're maybe
it.
going to be speaking with, and you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to stab a guy in prison, and I'm going to go, fucking take that, you wetback motherfucker, or whatever the line is, and you get into the room and you're ready for it and you're going to do it. And then you look, and there's a 75-year-old lady named Dolores sitting there, and you're like, you're going to read with Dolores. And then you're like, I've got to tell her I'm going to stab her. And call her names. And it's just like, there's a little, like you got to, it's ring rust, right?
Yeah.
You got to get used to the
and
rooms.
it's quiet in there and stuff, and
All of it.
You're just completely by yourself.
And it's the same feeling, like you got to get it right in your head last time before you go in there and get in the right frame. You know, like just like boxing, like what's my last game plan? What am I doing? And you got to get all that going. You go in there and you do it, bam, and you're out. And there's that release, whatever.
Right.
Like,
And it's like that.
And you're like, fuck, I didn't get that gig.
I've been there. I know right away.
It's like that when they say action too, because it's yours to fuck up. It's all on you. And now there's not just a camera and all that, but
Thousands
there's all
of
the craft
dollars.
services, all the electricians, everybody's just, let's see this.
And you got to walk into a scene and not screw it up.
And there's people that are really, really fucking good at it too. So that's got to be intimidating.
And so there's the thing. It's the same. I think as fighting is like when Keith was talking about, like, if I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna throw this jab, and then I'm gonna. If you're thinking about it, you're already too late, right?
You're done.
Time isn't like that. You have to flow, and so I think the same thing. You need to practice the jab and the cross and all that, but then you can't think. You have to throw it all away. And I think that acting's the same way. You have to know your material. You have to really study. You have to be diligent. You have to put in all your reps.
Coaching.
And then you have to have your mind in a place where you can make it all disappear so it can be authentically yours when you go and do it. And I think that it's just as much for me. And I know Keith feels that way too, is that it's the training is just as much that you need to for fighting. Like, if you want to be good at something, fucking do it. It's not something you can walk into like that.
I'm gonna go beat a professional that's been doing this for years, went to school or whatever. I'm gonna beat him for this job.
right.
I'm gonna do this without coaching, so I'm just gonna walk in and do it.
Right.
It's like walking into the Olympic Training Center without any wrestling background, you know. But it is like that, and it's like we learn from our past, and we go, oh fuck, I need to be like.
So you guys have
because
like
I would never put you into a fight without having you be well rounded everywhere. That would be really foolish of me. Like
I'm part ninja, so I'd be fine.
I need you to be safe though, right? And so I want you to have the best. Yeah.
And it's work still. I mean, it's glamorous to a lot of people, and it's cool to be in movies, but in TV and all that stuff. But at the same time, it's still work, and there can be long days.
The biggest thing for me, I think, of it is that you're always looking for your next job. Harrison Ford right now is looking for his next job. Yeah. It doesn't matter what the stakes are, or who you are, you know, like what the pay is. Everybody's looking, and so
I'm looking past this next job we have right now. Like, oh, I have nothing planned after that. What am I going to do?
Yeah.
And you got to be in that mindset where like there's guys that need. I mean, it's like why guys have you know, steady 9-to-5 jobs or Jesus or whatever. It's like they need an answer to the mysteries and all that. And it's like there's not guarantees in life, man.
Right.
And you know, for me, like I really see that everywhere. Like I said, I grew up in Michigan, and it's like all I needed to see is that everybody that put in 40 years and then they stole their pensions that they paid in. I was like, holy fuck. So nothing is certain. So I can't trust anybody. You got to go shake your own tree. And I've been doing that for, you know, almost 2 decades now, or maybe, well, I guess more, like legally for about 2 decades. And with that, so you're always looking at like, what's the next thing that I got to make happen?
What do you do during your free time?
My free time is all work too. Like that's the thing too. He talks about working actors. I see all these guys and I go, you lazy bitch, because that's the one thing that they do, you know?
Right.
And it's like our side jobs are a coffee company, our nightclubs, our running jiu-jitsu gym, a CrossFit gym. I got a microbrew. It's like I got projects that are on projects. I try to run Pirate Life podcast. We're starting a new thing coming out in a little bit. It's like when I'm on set is the laziest I am.
Yeah.
That's when I'm not working, right?
How many, like in the movie The Equalizer, like you were on screen for several minutes probably, or at least it seemed that way. How many?
Just that fight scene was, I think, 2 full minutes. It was
so
wicked.
and you beat the crap out of Denzel. You're the only one to get a little bit in on him.
Sure.
But anyway, how long of a shoot was that? Like how many days were you on set for?
I was there for 5 weeks in Boston, I think.
5 weeks to get 2 minutes.
Yeah, but like even that, so
crazy.
that scene, just like the fight scene is the most memorable part to people. It is like maybe it's a day of us just going through it, right? Like we're just going to set it up and think about what.
And you never even met him, right? It was all CGI, and I'm just kidding.
Well, so he's not there. Like
Right.
it's me and some stunt guys, right?
Right.
And so we work all that out, and then we do that for a day and a half, and get all the beats in, and then we work with D's guy with you know.
Do the fight men? Are they obviously they must do fight choreography, but do they fight?
No. They're just they move beautifully.
It's probably
They're dancers.
It's a different thing, and to come from being a real fighter into that world.
But for film, it's probably better that the guy isn't a fighter, because if he does sneaky fight shit, you won't see it.
I think the
Look
guys that are the best are guys like that are trickers, that are like acrobatic, like free runners, and like those guys, like the guys at 8711, some of the best in the world as far as movement specialists like that. And there's a bunch of guys down there, like they did all the Mutant Ninja Turtles, and
I just watched that. That was so good. Why did everybody hate on that?
I haven't seen it.
It was fucking awesome.
But I know that they move well because I know who the guys are that are in it. You know?
Yeah, it looked fucking awesome.
I was in Parks and Rec with a couple of the guys from there, which was
nice.
rad. But like Anais is he you know, kicked everybody and he doubled a guy. But anyway, I think that like. Yeah, pretend fighting is way better. It's way more fancy to see. Like wushu works in movies, and
I did pro wrestling for a few years, and we used to say, "Looks like shit, hurts like hell." That's when you would throw a real punch.
Right. That
it looks like crap, and it fucking you're like, "Oh, that hurt."
Like pro wrestling looks horrible to me.
Oh yeah, it is.
Because the size is a guy, like you got a 300-pound guy on the turnbuckle that's gonna dive on you. Holy fuck.
Yeah. There's no safe way. It's not very smart.
And the other thing is it's not like training like Keith all but knocked me out one day, and then he stopped, right? Like I got caught with a kick in the back of the head and I was screwy, and like when you're screwy like that, you make awesome decisions like, no, we're good, let's go, and like everybody else is like, no, you're done. But like if you, that's somebody that cares about me.
Yeah.
Like, and there's guys that I've seen in gyms that you don't care about, and you go ahead and finish that guy. You know, like that
Right.
happens a lot. And in wrestling, it's got to be the same way.
you
like,
still have to finish the
this
show,
dude doesn't
too.
like this guy, so maybe when I come off that, maybe I do clip him with
Yeah.
the elbow a little bit. You know what I mean? It
does happen a little bit. Yeah,
Boy,
it happens a little bit here and
fuck
there.
That.
Doesn't happen too much because you just
What do you
won't
think?
last.
What do you think of the wrestler guy coming in the UFC?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
what's his
the what the hell's the guy? I can't think of his name.
just-
right now.
Chicago.
Yeah, I forgot his name. He beat the shit out of
Punk,
somebody.
CM
yeah,
Punk.
CM Punk.
Yeah, yeah, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is he? I haven't seen him fight at all.
No, he has a fight lined up, I think.
He's
though.
never had a fight.
No,
so
never.
It'd be hard to have seen it.
Yeah.
I guess he's been into it for a long time though. How good is Rogan?
Awesome.
He does mainly jiu-jitsu.
He's got one of the hardest kicks I've ever seen in my life. He terrifies me. Like I've been kicked by some of the hardest kicking guys in the world. I guess Forrest Griffin's got a really hard kick. I didn't get kicked by him, but like Keith kicks pretty hard and it sucks. And Joe, I've seen kick a bag before and kick a human, and it looks fucking horrible.
That's awesome.
Like he's got really. I mean,
he's got some good skills.
He was like a Taekwondo champion, and they're all kick centered
Right.
martial art. And so he was on the East Coast before he went fully into comedy as a like 19 or 20-year-old. He was a champion there.
Wow.
And then he's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu. Like he
And he still like lifts weights, trains, podcasts,
trains all the
travels.
time.
Yeah, he's
like,
nuts.
He works like the only guys I know really like that. And that's something like I look at. Like he's writing, he's working his craft like all the
Working his fucking
time,
ass
you
off,
know?
huh?
And he's like you see Dwayne Johnson the same way. You know, dudes covet those spots, and it's like, are you willing to be up at 3 and be on a treadmill at 8 miles an hour on an incline every fucking day? Because that's what he does after he sleeps for 5 hours, regardless of how he feels about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like those guys, like they
That's the
work
decision
in a
he makes,
different way, you know. And that's the thing. Like if you want to achieve great shit, you get like
You're gonna have to do
you said
shit
earlier,
differently.
a beautiful thing, and that's what the greatest MMA coach in the world, Greg Jackson, said. And he goes, you got to become comfortable where other men are uncomfortable, Tate. Like everybody's got a breaking point. We want our breaking point to be unreachable. You know what I mean? So guys are trying to get there, and then they're gonna get stymied by it, and theirs will come right up.
A friend of ours calls that deep water.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of like, Rogan used to talk about that, about people that do jiu-jitsu versus don't do jiu-jitsu, and it's like that you think you can fight. It's like you get drug into deep water and you have no idea how to swim. And I'm going to fucking eat you. Like, it's a bad deal.
Whenever I watch the UFC, I'm always thinking, like, man, these guys probably grew up, like, each guy individually is a badass in their own town, their own neighborhood, their own city. Whether they beat people up in bars or whether they, did collegiate wrestling or whatever the case is, everyone knows, like, those are the dudes not to mess with. So I always wonder, what it's like. You got in a couple fights as a kid and this and that, and you punched a few people out and it was easy. Then you get in the ring and you slug somebody with everything you have, a couple shots, and they're just not going anywhere. I always wonder, what does something like that feel like when you just give somebody everything you have and they're just still fucking standing in front of you?
That's happened to me in the street, but it's never happened in a ring like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think, I don't know, it's not like that. For me, it was never ever like that. It was, and I think too, I think the numbers would argue with you. Like you look at a guy like Miles Jury, he's a fucking nerd.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
And he's a tough,
right.
able-bodied motherfucker. And so like there's that. I think like the guys that are good at jiu-jitsu, they're not guys that look like we walked up and they're like, oh, you guys look like stunt guys. It's like we don't. Like stunt guys look like 170
they're
pounds,
small.
about
they're very little.
5'10".
Yeah.
Like they don't look like anything really,
Right.
and they're indistinguishable, so they can get put in different spots everywhere. They don't, and so jiu-jitsu guys are like that. It's a real cerebral thing. It's like you hear of it like a human chess game or whatever, but it's like that. Like if you're not smart, you're not good at jiu-jitsu. The guys that are the best at jiu-jitsu are geniuses and are nerds that look there and they study it, and that's what they think about before they go to bed, and they're conscious, they're disciplined in that. It's not like meatheads. Like you go into any jiu-jitsu gym,
Right.
you won't find meatheads there.
With that, the guy that was the toughest guy on his block was probably a bully and picking up on guys that couldn't defend themselves.
Right.
Those guys get weeded out really quick in MMA gym.
Yeah.
You're going in a gym with killers, professional killers that are looking for
That know how to do it.
Yeah. So everybody that I know in MMA, that people talking about UFC, this guy, how's that guy, like, you know what? They're all pretty good. Even Nick Diaz builds him up a certain way to do a fight. Well, he's incredibly humble, incredibly nice guy. If you
smart,
him.
cool guy.
Yeah. Like those guys get weeded out really
and it's
quick,
like it's super duper. Like in you got to really love somebody to punch them in the face. Like you got to care about, like, you know what I mean? To train, like for us to train the way we would train, we'd throw fucking hooks, man. And it's like you got to.
Yeah, you're not helping each other if you're pitter pattering.
Yeah, I mean, but also you got to be concerned with each other. Like there's a level there's gyms for sure where dudes get it and they don't like each other. I think, but like it never really happens at Greg's.
You like this? Be kind of cliche. Most high level MMA fighters was that guy at the end of the bar that unassuming you wouldn't want to pick with.
Right.
You know?
Rich Franklin.
Yeah,
is a great example.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
George St. Pierre.
Yep. I mean, or you look at the Diaz brothers. Except for the scowl, you're not like those are imposing people. You know what I mean? They're just like regular nice dudes that are out doing their thing. And you know, Cade Nelson is a dude. He's like 130 pounds, and he is a strangling machine, and he's like a computer scientist or something. Like it's like that's the other thing too, is like the toughest guys that I know in the world. Some of them you'll never see, never know their name.
Shane Carwin, an engineer.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about being a junkie, and you know, first of all, you know, kind of how long ago was that? And then did you just wake up one day and have a realization like I'm a bum, I need to change my life, or was it? Did you have to go to therapy and things like that? How the fuck did you get out of that? Because I'm sure there's people listening that probably have some issues.
Well, get help, you sick fuck. I don't know. It's a lot of things. I mean, it's like everybody, you know. I don't know. I don't say it with any kind of a pride or anything like that. It's like it's a matter of fact. It's part of my life, and it continues to be part of my life. But you know, if you got problems with drugs and booze or whatever your deal is, and like if you got a problem with any external activity that affects your family and your life, like, you know, I burned everybody in my life. I burned down my life, but I don't know that I burned down my life. I didn't really have one. Like it was like all I really knew, and I just figured it was just how I was. And so, but there was a lot of things. There's a lot of.
How did it start? Did it start with kind of running with the wrong crowd type thing when you're young, or?
No, I don't think anything like that. It's just how it was. Like I don't think that if you're a parent and you're like, I want to prevent my kid from going down this, you're not gonna.
Right.
Like, good luck, and quit trying to be a control freak, you asshole. You know what I mean? Like
Things happen.
Let motherfuckers live. Like,
right.
And that's a huge thing. Is like the nicest thing about my thing, and that is that like I always knew that my mom loved me and that she cared about me. Although she was like, I never want to see you again. Don't ever come around again. I can't see you like this. And like that, and that was it. Like you know, your life gets to a point like that. But like, there's all kinds of places. Like help is so prevalent now, but
How did you get help? What was the thing that made you kind of turn shit around? Regardless of like therapy,
I went to. I mean, it was just like it was like, I guess you get to a point, you think you're gonna beat the game all the time, right? Like it's gonna be different this time, and if it's not different, you at a certain point have to go, fuck, when I do this, this happens. When I do this, this always happens.
Yeah.
You know, and when you know that in your bones, like when you go, oh, no matter what happens, this is the result, and that sticks with you for whatever reason, then you go, fuck, I have to, if I can choose another way, like, and when I saw that there were other ways, like that was the biggest thing, is like, you know, I saw a guy and he gave me hope, and I go, fuck, man, and I go, he's like me.
Something he said or something he did?
Like stuff he shared with me and all that, and I go, well, maybe me too. And I think that was maybe one of the most powerful things ever, and I think that's a transcendent idea universally. Like when you see somebody, like if you're from a neighborhood or something, and you're like, I can't get out of here, and this is what my life is going to be. And then you see, and you go, oh, fuck, he did that, and maybe me too, you know? And like it's a huge thing, I think, when you can, I think that's kind of the whole purpose, is like, how do you give hope, you know? And when I'd ask dudes, like, I don't know why, like, you're helping me. He's like, that's what we do. We love the unlovable and we give hope to the hopeless. And I was really unlovable. And like, you know, the end, I'd had a lot of really colorful experiences, I guess, with it. But like, it's not like the wallpaper or where you end up or this or that. It's like like the decay that you feel in your guts, I think, more than anything else, and it's the hopelessness, and like that looks like different stuff for different people, and I don't know. There's not like a deciding thing, you know. There's not like, oh, this happened, like, and then I flip the switch, you know. And it's like anything else. It's like there's one of the first things that I built consistency with, and go. It's a long road, and you are just walking on it, and there's not a destination. You're just on this road, you know. And the road can look like this or look like that. What do you want to do today?
Did you get to a point where you got real sick or something like that? Any situations like that?
Well, I ended up on a. I mean, I've been sick for a long time. Like, I mean, the first time I overdosed, I was 14. You know, like, happened a bunch. It wasn't like it's not a big deal to me. You know what I mean? It's like. I ended up in 5-point restraints. Seeing my mom through glass, you know, was a big deal. That was like the last, like if you were going to look for a huge event. But I'm hesitant to say that because it's not like if that is a thing or people are listening, your life doesn't need to look like that. It can look like all kinds of. I mean, you know, a lot of people kill themselves instead of facing up to the reality, and they never go to prison. You know what I mean? It's like it's just different for everybody. For me, it was like that. It was like, oh,
I like talking about this stuff. I know it's uncomfortable, but, you know, I know a lot of people that have died, you know, from drug addiction and from alcohol abuse and stuff like that. So I always just think it's important that people open up about it, and the more people talk about it, hopefully it fucking helps somebody to, you know, turn around and realize that they can have a better life and that there are other options.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, then like with that too, I would say that like I'm not mad at booze or dope, or I think it's all great. I think I really say that.
More the merrier.
I say that.
All right, let's get a shot of whiskey while we're at it.
I think it's fantastic, but for me, it has a result that isn't conducive to me having a good life or bringing comfort to my friends and family, and
it interferes with that for sure, right?
And I'm a different person to the degree that like I'll step over. It's like I'm not mad at my mom, but I will step over her to get a cocktail. Like it's like. And so, like, that being the case, knowing me and then having a sober state of mind, it's ridiculous for me to drink, right? It's like it doesn't. So, like, I don't have like ill feelings about. I think it's rad, but like, it's like knowing yourself. You get to a deeper point of like knowing yourself and like what kind of human do I want to be? How do I want to grow? What do I want to express to the world? And is the thing that I'm doing, is that donut going to help me do that, or is it going to take away from what my goals are? And, you know, I think in a higher level, like I was like an animal. I wasn't like on this level at all. But like the way I look at it now, like in tempering my life, is I go, why would you buy your future self problems? Like, why would I, you know, like if you're married, like why would I cheat on my wife so that in 2 weeks, the 2 weeks from now, me is going to, you know what I mean? It's like it doesn't fucking play out. Like that's. And so, and if it is something that you'll do regardless, then you go, maybe that's something I need to address in myself, you know? And so, like, there's so many places to get help and all that, but the whole thing, I get lost in my mind sometimes. But, like, the whole thing about not being mad at booze, if my life was better with drinking, if I thought it would be, I would fucking drink. Trust me, I think it's awesome. I love to get high. I love it. I love everything about it. But
can't control it.
My life is fucking fantastic, and it was never this good ever. When I, you know, and so that's the thing, is like my life is way more attractive to me. If I'm an outsider looking at my life, I'm like, oh, you could have this. A bunch of people are scared of you for various reasons,
for legitimate reasons, probably,
or what. And then people cry about you, and like there's all this, and like you always have a harbinger of fucking doom about to smash you. Or I can have my life today. It's like. If I were to look at it like that, it's crazy. Like my life is infinitely better, like and in ways that I couldn't have dreamed of. And so, like that's my personal thing. And like I don't know, like I don't feel like, I think it's it can be so douchey to publicize any of that in any kind of way. But it's like it's just kind of like.
I think it's fucking cool because it's a different place for you to talk from.
I think it's also like an interesting thing, like when I asked you about Chris's new documentary that he's doing, Prescription Thugs, and it sounds like I don't know anything about it except that it sounds like you know, a war on the prescription drug industry in a way, like. And I look at that, and I've got friends right now that are trying to get off like Paxil and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've been prescribed a bunch of stuff. I've been seeing shrinks since I was 9 years old, and they called me all kinds of stuff, and so,
not such nice names, I bet.
well, it's like, you hear stuff and they say you're schizoid typical and you're sociopathic and like manic depressive, chronic. They couldn't decide, right? And so they just throw a thing at you, and then they get money based on that from the state,
right?
And turns out none of those things were true, right? But like people get medicated before they get empowered by themselves to find out those things, and then they're on medicine that they don't know what the fuck any of that does to your brain, like SSRIs and dopamine inhibitors and all those kinds of stuff. They don't have a fucking clue. And then they go, well, see how this will feel for 5 weeks, Tait. And I'm like, I can't tell you really how I felt yesterday. Like so I'm supposed to map my fucking emotions for 5 weeks. Like I'm fucked up over here. And then they go, and if that one, and I said, well, if this one's no good, well, if you start feeling more depressed, I'm like, that seems fucking dangerous.
If you're suddenly suicidal,
they go, we'll give you
a call.
We'll give you another one, or maybe we'll marry this one with this one. I'm like, you don't know what one's gonna do, and you're gonna give me another one, and you don't know how they're gonna like what the fuck? And that's science.
Yeah. Right.
And so like I started looking at that, and I go, and that's kind of like what our whole company, like Pirate Life, was about. Really, is like. It's like all these things that sounds crazy and you can't really talk about unless you have a conversation like this. But it's like from whether it's fighting or fucking brain health or how to fucking increase the fuck of your life.
Yeah.
Is like how do you really become empowered to know what it is? Like, do I trust a psychiatrist? Do I trust the guy at the FDA that's telling me that this is all good, or do I do a little research and I become more empowered and accountable for my choices instead of going, oh well, fuck, he told me it was good though. Like I know I got cancer now, but fucking they did say, well yeah, they do that all the fucking time, right? Like, and so I think that's kind of an important part of the conversation is like, how do you really become empowered and become not a victim in your own fucking existence.
And it's a trap too, because there's certain times that certain people need to be on certain medications, but nobody ever goes back to them. They hand medication over and they say, okay, you're pretty much just going to take this now.
I mean, if I go right now and I go, hey, I got hit by a car and I got this thing in my neck and I get headaches towards the end of the day all the time, they're going to give me oxys.
Right.
That's what.
And they're not even going to ask you your history, which I think is a huge mistake. That's what they're going to do, right? They're not going to say, "Hey, why don't you go get a massage and release all this shit?" And then that fucking won't pull because that's what happened is you had a muscle. You know what I mean? But nobody wants a real solution.
Right.
They want Band-Aids because you being strung out is way better for capitalism than you being well. And
Tribeca's in the end of April. You guys should come with us.
Yeah, my brother's
What's
movie
that?
is
The premiere.
debuting at the
Is
Tribeca
that
Film
what it's
Festival.
about?
Yeah.
April 10th, if you guys
It's about
want to
all
come.
that.
I would love to
I think it's
do
about
that.
the
In,
addiction part. I think it's
the
about
NYC.
the money part of it. I think it covers all of that.
It's actually
I mean,
April
it's got to
18th.
cover. It's got to cover mass shootings. It's like the only thing that
There's-
any of those have in common are SSRIs.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
the only fucking common.
Yeah.
But nobody says that. Like we don't want to talk about that. Really, it's
Yeah.
like it's a crazy thing.
Yeah, Chris is a talented guy at getting to the bottom of shit, and he's not really afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to watch it.
I really
Getting to the bottom is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what he did.
I enjoy the tone that he has too, because he's got such a real tenderness, a kindness to his voice. Like when he's interviewing,
You find him
people-
attractive?
Well, he's like he's not. It's
I
not
was
like
kidding.
me. Like being like people. Like I'm kind of have a aggressive tone or whatever. I get passionate about it, whatever.
Get fired up.
He's like mellow and
Yeah,
he's just
he's
like,
really neutral.
He's really he is.
He's
man.
good.
He's got a great demeanor.
Yeah, he was
for
made for
interviewing
this shit.
people like that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Hey, it was awesome having you guys on the podcast here. You guys have anything else you want to kind of plug on the way out? Butt plug or just
Plug it
anything you
all.
wanna-
Caveman
Any of
Coffee
that?
Co. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you don't
I
care.
can give you a list. You could go to Keith Jardine.
There we go.
At Keith Jardine 205 is how you can find him on Instagrams. I'm at Tait Fletcher, just my name.
Keith Jardine's making a comeback too, I heard, right? Is that right?
Well,
Come on, man.
knows? Who knows?
Yeah, come on.
depends what
Just-
happens when the phone rings.
Just get out there one more
All I
time.
know is doing this diet and coffee and everything all together, I'm healthier right now than any time in my last 5 years. I could walk into a fight today and be in better shape and more effective than I was any time after any
That's awesome.
training camp. The last
And you're
5 years.
following like paleo style diet, gluten free, and
Absolutely.
you guys get rid of sugars and stuff like that as well.
Well, Yeah, like
or try to. I mean, you can't escape sugar.
I eat as much vegetables as I want, you know.
Right.
I eat sweet. When I have hard workout days, I make some sweet potatoes and things like that. I just get rid of most grains, I never try and eat anything with over 5 grams of sugar in it.
Eat some rice here and there.
Eat some white rice here and there, only on hard training days, and that's a hard balance. Is mix. Okay, now I'm going to go grapple, and I'm going to do 5 rounds with killers, and then now I'm drained for 2 days.
Is it just an overall healthier lifestyle approach? Like not even like diet soda type stuff is not even in the mix for you.
It's not even food to me.
Right. It's
like
not even
like he was talking about. Even with nutrition, you look into your future self. Like, how am I going to feel in a half hour after I eat that?
Yeah, right.
Where I can eat this amazing.
It's a great way of looking at it.
Yeah, and you can eat this amazing feeling, good tasting food.
It is the thing that bums me out too, man. When I see it, like it's like you get a different consciousness about your food. Like I don't even think of like, oh, I'm on a diet or something. It's like I'm conscious about how I'm fueling myself and what I'm allowing to take in my body. We just love coffee and we loved what it did and we loved the results and we're like, fuck, dude, my mood's evened out. Like I'm not up and down all the time. I have a better interaction with my whole day as opposed to having black spots in the middle of my day where I'm fucking down or I don't want to talk to anybody or anything like that. Like I'm more productive and it's like, fuck, let's share this with people. This is what I'm doing. I'm not a scientist. I don't know what all goes into it, but I know what my results have been and maybe you too, you know, and that becomes the thing, you know, and that.
Yeah. And everything we've done in our company, like our MCT oil, for example, we found out that.
Yeah, Keith went to huge lengths to source it.
But palm oil it rapes rainforests, kills orangutan habitat, all that. You look on the internet, look at palm oil, and it just destroys things. And then they found this thing called RSPO. It's sustainable palm oil. That thing's like just saying like, look, I plan to be compliant and have sustainable in 5 years or something like that.
We're trying the best we can.
Yeah.
It's like it's not saying that it is a standard, but they made up some initials that make it look like it's a standard that's not a standard. You know what I mean? And like when Lacey and Keith and I, and that's at LMackey31 is her Instagram. There
you go.
The good-looking one of the three.
The pretty blue.
She's gonna get so many followers now.
The pretty blonde hair, blue-eyed with the big ass. Yeah.
I thought I was a good-looking one.
Your ass could be a little bigger.
You know what? When people go, dude, I don't look like him, right?
You guys look the same.
Yeah, identical.
Really?
And that's
his beard's a little
people
shorter.
Say that to me. They're like, I remember my girlfriend. I was walking away, and my girlfriend.
It's because you guys sleep together.
It was the first time she'd seen Keith, and she sees him walking away, and she's like, "You guys walk the same too." And I'm like,
"Son of a bitch."
Anyway, he's a lot less handsome than me.
So anyway,
we didn't want a company. We wanted a movement. We wanted you to be thoughtful. We wanted you to go forward and like I want a community of people that are like that. That's where power is. You know what I mean? It's not about having a fucking company. Like that's not it. You know, the idea is like how do you encourage people? How do you take life back? How do you inspire the people around you? Like that's what all this is about. You know?
Don't instruct, inspire.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%.
What are you gonna say?
I don't remember.
Shit.
You keep
That's the problem. You know what else it is? That's the problem is brain damage, right? Like that's the thing too. I don't know how much time we got, but listen,
we can
man,
go forever. Who
like
cares?
that whole thing with the fucking with like kids and like seeing kids start MMA and shit.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
at a young age.
Don't do that to your fucking kids, man.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's one of the worst things ever. It's like we've suffered from it. Like there's a ton of guys right now. I just read another guy. I think Jamie Varner came out and talked about like how he sparred too much and it cut his shit short. And it's like I know guys like Guy Metzger is a pioneer in the sport and he was a fantastic athlete and he got a stroke at like 32 years old.
Yeah,
and
that's
from head trauma, right? And so you see that in football and all this stuff, and it's like parents are fucking jackasses.
Yeah,
you're putting young brains that aren't even formed into horrible concussive habitats where that's irregular and telling them to tough it out and shake it off. And Dad, I get headaches. Oh, get back in there. Like that's indicative of a problem.
Yeah.
And so like, I think that we'll see sports like get huge and everybody will get way better. But for sure, there's going to be a price to pay. And there's a way you can mitigate that too. Like you could take care of your kid and still have him be awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
By not putting them in those kinds of conditions. And I'm not saying not putting them in those kinds of sports, but like you need to be conscious of that, man. Like that's a human life that is going to be affected forever.
So you guys are trying to kick us off. We're going a little bit long, huh?
No,
Whatever.
we can
Who
take. We
cares?
can be as long as we want to be.
Hey, we can split it into 3 parts. Who gives a shit?
We just want to make sure we get to eat. That's.
Let's go eat. Let's go eat.
But I was going to throw in just for on concussion for just a second. My son, my older son, fell on the sidewalk, an icy sidewalk in Halifax a couple weeks ago, and he fell once, got up awkwardly, fell again. There's 4 inches of ice on the sidewalks there right now. It's terrible. Hit the side of his head, and it's a concussion, but at the same time, he can't think clearly. He can't work. He went to the doctor, and she said, take at least a week, if not 2 weeks off.
Yeah.
And don't look at screens. Don't watch TV. Don't read. Don't try to concentrate on anything. And that's what we're telling people now, to try to heal their brains. Yeah. And in sports for however many decades now, we've had kids taking shots to the head, and then we wonder why later in their lives.
You see that a lot now. I saw something, they're interviewing a bunch of NFL football players and said, will you let your kid play Pop Warner? Hell no.
Yeah.
Right. I want him to golf.
Back when I remember I got knocked out by Houston Alexander. Horrible thing. Got hit behind the head. Bam. I was one of the worst knockouts. And then I remember 2 days, was it Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? On the Tuesday, I was in grappling again, because that's the way we were. We go back to work and train harder than you did last time and all that. And I remember getting hit in the head, well, that doesn't feel right. Well, just keep pushing through it. It'll be fine. And it's just the sports, everything's coming a long way. Everyone's some guy just retired from the NFL.
The Niners.
For the Niners,
After 1 year.
23.
Yeah.
Well, and you look at too, as safety, people think that it's safer. They're like, oh, I got a great helmet or whatever. That only increases the problems.
Yeah.
People are
because then you want to hit harder.
They don't have head injuries in rugby.
Right.
They don't wear helmets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so people that now are super better, faster, bigger, stronger athletes that are hitting at speeds which aren't mitigated by their own sense of their safety, because they feel impervious to any kind of pain because the padding is so good. But it's the reason I think boxing is more dangerous than MMA in that way in some regards is because boxing gloves are way worse to get. I'd rather get punched with a fist than boxing gloves like that. It's and I just tell people
you get hit. It's kind of more often with the boxing
difference.
gloves.
If I walk up behind you in with a basketball and I go dunk and I bounce that off your head, it's gonna be a If I go with a baseball, it's just tunk and it's nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's like a boxing glove versus an MMA glove. It's a vast difference as far as brain concussion goes. But I digress.
Yeah, the way I look at it too, though, is you can't have these experiences unless you take chances. And I shot a video a while back where I say "fuck you" and "fuck your elbow" because somebody made some stupid comment to me, a hater, basically, and I just basically kind of went on to say, you know what, we're all heading down that fucking path. We're all going to die. Pain is coming our way. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. And with that being said, I think it is great to be aware of it. At the same time, it's you got to live your life and have the experiences.
I think that's the thing is though being conscious of it, let's not go and be muted in the idea that I'm in this false sense of security or something,
Yes, correct.
And in a lot of the ways that training mode comes, I just I saw Louis Simmons poster on the wall out here, and I just met him a little while ago, and him talking about training protocols that are now in place for guys today so that they don't have to hurt themselves. I don't know, I heard the litany of stuff that is wrong with his body, the damages that he's put himself through, and he's like, that's so nobody else has to do that. I found better ways around that, Right. And so I'm sure he's like
Jesus Christ, he went through the pain for us.
In the powerlifting community, he's probably given a lot to that kind of a movement, I would think. But it's by throwing yourself in the fire.
He's made the training much better because he went through it. He went through a lot of it the wrong way.
And so I think that's the same thing for MMA with us. It's where we went through and we thought this is the way to train, and it's just tough, and you get knocked out. You're back in the gym Monday. You know what I mean? And it's fuck no. I would never allow that now if I were in. I'd be dude, we got to get out. This is what we're going to talk about. Because that's ludicrous. But you think it's the tough thing to do, and you think I'm going to get back on the horse, and it's you got to get back on the horse for sure. I'm not saying that, but let's be smart about it.
So you always hear about suspensions. You're on a 60-day suspension from the athletic commission because of whatever. So in your mind, that means on the 61st day I can pick up a fight. So I'll start training right now.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
That's interesting the way you guys think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go eat, and when we eat, we'll actually get the real stories, the behind-the-scenes stories that you guys wouldn't share. We'll find out how many confirmed kills you guys have. Multiply your hustle, multiply your muscle, and may all your shits be tapered. I'm at Mark Smelly Bell on Instagram and Twitters.
I'm at Silent Mike with 2 Ks, and everybody stay healthy.
Follow the show on Instagram at Mark Bell's PowerCast, Twitter at STGymSack, Facebook.com/SuperTradingGym. I'm Jim McD, STTV, everywhere that I would want you to find me. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and SuperTrading.tv, SuperTrading 06, and SuperTrading TV on YouTube. And we'll have those.
Subscribe to Power Magazine at thepowermagazine.com. If you choose the digital edition, you can catch up on all the great back issues, take your training to the next level with Slingshot products at howmuchyoubench.net, and look for PSN products including NO Explode at bodybuilding.com. Mark Bell's PowerCast is a production of supertraining.tv.